We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, do hereby find the defendant Michael Amiot guilty of assault, a misdemeanor of the first degree, in violation of Section 2903.13A.
Cops often commit horrendous acts, and it takes quite a brave judge to absolutely take them to the cleaners, just like these honest judges who owned these nasty officers.
We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, do hereby find the defendant Michael Amiot guilty of assault, a misdemeanor of the first degree, in violation of Section 2903.13A of the Ohio Revised Code, as charged in Count 2. We do so render our verdict this 29th day of July. Do hereby find the defendant Michael Amiot guilty of interfering with civil rights, a misdemeanor of the first degree, in violation of Section 2921.45A of the Ohio Revised Code, as charged in Count 3. We do so render our verdict this 29th day of July, 2022.
The corrupt cop was found guilty on both counts. He sat there in silence, keeping a straight face, and clearly showed no remorse for his actions.
That is your decision as to whether you wish to speak with him. With that, anything prior to discharging the jury?
No, Your Honor.
On behalf of the defendant, anything? Yes.
So if they're going to say that's the official record, and if they want a transcript from me, and they don't want a transcript from me, they want a transcript from that.
Well,
That wasn't the end of the trial, as the very next day, Amiot was called to sentencing. The victim was present and allowed to share a statement before the sentence was handed down.
I appreciate the jury and the court for making the right decision. You know, what Amiot did to me was wrong. He should have received the maximum sentences today. You know, I'm still going through like the suffering with the anxiety, you know, driving, just the temperament, the trauma and everything. It's just a cause for this case. I'm ready to get it over it actually, but just coming back in here just like bring up everything, you know. Just to see him over there, you know, see all that, just coming back in this court, just like it just brings up everything, like you live at the moment. So, you know, I hope you get the maximum sentences today, Your Honor.
Shortly after, Amiot was allowed to address the court, and he delivered a lengthy statement.
One of the most shocking examples was a prosecution witness called who testified that I was celebrating in the aftermath of this arrest. They testified that I was high-fiving, fist-bumping, and dapping it up with other officers. There was 5 police cars on East 228th Street that day, all with their dash cameras on and rolling. They all had overlapping fields of view. I can be seen in front of one of those cameras the entire time I was on scene until I was transported to the hospital. Nothing remotely close to what the witness described happened with me or any other officer on the scene. They knew this and put the witness on the stand anyway.
The officer continued to offer explanations in an attempt to clear his conscience. Eventually, he took some accountability, but only to a minimal extent.
I take full responsibility that there was a failure on my behalf to get Mr. Hubbard in custody quickly. The incident was prolonged when I was shot with a taser. During the deployment, I broke my hand, ruptured tendons, and injured my shoulder. I want to end by saying I'm not an advocate for or against use of force. Everything I did on that day was based on my training and experience. From here on out, I'll be an advocate for subject control training department-wide going forward, so we can all be at our best when the time comes. I have a deep respect and love for the citizens and this community. I want to do my best to serve them.
Before announcing the sentence, the judge expressed his disdain for Amiot's action, aiming to make the officer feel the weight of his wrongdoing.
one of the things that stood out to me is that the initiation of this incident probably never should have occurred. When you receive that initial radio communication, that initiated this whole thing. And the other thing that sort of stood out to me was that in approaching the vehicle and asking Mr. Hubbard to get out of the vehicle, there was an inability for him to get out of that vehicle without making contact with you.
It is disheartening that Amiot never apologized to the victim, and the judge's personal comments must have been especially hard for him to hear.
I believe the jury got it right. I do. And the court must impose the sentence that the court feels is appropriate in a case like this. And I appreciate the city of Euclid compensated you. If you need assistance, you need to go and get that assistance. But I'm not going to say you're not going to have instances of flashback or what have you, but you need to move on with your life also. And not let this incident continue to hover over you. The city compensated you.
The judge also tried to tell the victim to get back to life and move on from this terrible incident. Finally, the sentence was announced for the tyrant cop.
The court at this time will impose a sentence of 90 days, require you to pay a fine of $1,000, and will require you to pay the court costs. In addition, the court will suspend the sentence of 90 days, place you on non-reporting community control for a period of 1 year. If you violate during that 1 year, then the court will retain the ability to impose the sentence. Anything on behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor.
On behalf of Ms. Amiot?
Just what count did the court elect him sentence?
What count, as opposed to the violation of civil rights? Not saying they weren't violated, but given the length of time, the court will use the assault charge. Anything else?
Amiot was eventually sentenced to 90 days in prison and was also removed from the police force. While this judge may have been laid back on the sentence, this next one got enraged by this attorney's behavior.
And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
That was before the
Don't
defense
get
testimony.
brazen with me.
During the Kyle Rittenhouse homicide case, Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger ignored the judge's previous rulings and continued questioning the banned topic. This led to a furious defense attorney and an even angrier judge.
I'm going to ask you to go into the library again for a moment, please. Please don't talk about the case.
He's either forgetting the court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial in this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an
First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that. And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
It was clear that Judge Schroeder was extremely angry at the prosecutor, as he dismissed the jury for a while to hold him accountable.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not
Excuse
our
me,
motion.
Why would you think that that made it okay for you, without any advance notice, to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
The prosecutor had made a huge mistake, and things were about to get from bad to worse for the poor guy.
He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect,
I'm not going to rehash the motion. Yeah, that's absolutely untrue. No. Your argument's of record. My comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed, even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time. Why you would think that you could go into it without any advance notice to the court, I don't understand that. And as the defense is pointing out, you're an experienced trial lawyer, and this should not have been gone into.
The defense panel was growing restless, unable to believe what they were hearing. Binger's excuses were weak, and he was about to be called out for them.
the defendant has just testified this morning that he agreed with that person in the yellow pants, that he pointed the gun at him. He said, I was joking when I said that to the guy in the yellow pants, but he said, he's acknowledged that he told the person in the yellow pants, yeah, you're right. I did point a gun at you when you were sitting on a car.
He said, I did. That's what he
Exactly.
testified. You know, there's a lot of difference between commenting about something when you haven't got a gun and threatening someone when you do.
You know, it's interesting, Your Honor, because the entire defense theory in this case is Joseph Rosenbaum, who was unarmed.
Could you tell me what the defense theory of the case is? I want,
May I respond to what you just said, Your Honor? I'd like to respond to what you just said. I apologize, Madam Court Reporter, but I'd like to try and make a record without...
Rare to see attorneys speak to police officers in this manner, and if Binger continues this behavior, he could be held in contempt of court.
On his beliefs and on his statements.
I'm going to interrupt you now because you're talking about his beliefs. I think that's what they call...
His statements do, Your Honor. Because he just said, can't use deadly force, can't threaten to use deadly force to protect property. So now I'm impeaching him on that.
Your Honor, the court has seen no reason to change its ruling. And just so this record is clear, in spite of the lengthy statement by Mr. Binger, before we started today, the court specifically stated in Mr. Binger's presence, there's been nothing to have me change any of my rulings. He knows if you're going to go into something that's been excluded in a pretrial order, you better ask the court, you better get permission. This is ridiculous.
It wasn't excluded, Your Honor.
You know why it was excluded in the first place? Because it was propensity evidence.
The judge taught him a lesson about who the boss was, and just when he tried to talk over him, he delivered one final blow.
His attitude is he wants to shoot people. Now, I've admitted that kind of evidence in other trials when it's been appropriate. I didn't admit it in this case because, to me, what I've heard in this trial, and by the way, Mr. Richards absolutely correctly points out that just hours ago, I said I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense
Don't
testimony.
get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one. Wigmore on evidence. Judge Weinstein. Colonel McCormick. It's the prior act has to bear the signature of the accused, or it has to be so similar as to suggest it's a common plan or something like that.
The judge delivered a brief speech to instill discipline in his courtroom before calling the jury back.
When you were I said you were over the line and close to or over the line on commenting on the defendant's pretrial silence, which is a well-known rule that would have been an issue. So I don't want to have another issue as long as this case continues. Is that clear?
It is.
Thank you. Ask the jury to come back in, please.
This was surely humiliating for the attorney, and he'll forever think that he should never have broken the rules. Coming back to police officers, here is another instance when a corrupt bully was questioned and owned.
Did you apprehend good guys?
Did.
Never. I take that back. I bit a victim one time because she jumped in front of me.
Daytona Beach police officer Joshua Mesereau was involved in a gun battle with Marvin Jones, who was shot 5 times. Jones also had his girlfriend with him, Aviana Bailey, who the officer also shot. The young mother-to-be was left paralyzed from the chest down after the incident. Following this life-altering event, she filed a lawsuit against the police and the city.
Playing, fumbling, doing something with in his lap. There's none of this. There's none of this. It's this. And he's looking at me the whole time. And then it happens.
What happened?
He sticks the gun out the window and points it at me.
Okay. How does he stick the gun out the window?
If I'm sitting in the driver's seat, where would my... So he just went just like that.
Okay.
And it was between the mirror and the A-post.
Okay.
Well, actually, if I'm driving...
Exactly.
I'm sorry. If I'm driving, the driver's side is... The door is here. So he did this.
Okay. Because you had him moving...
Excuse me.
...further into the passenger compartment.
No, that was completely...
Right.
That was my mix-up in the side. It was the right side that he did it with, and then he put the gun between the window.
Officer Joshua couldn't even get the story straight, and you'll be shocked to see how casually he took the deposition.
You said right side again.
Left side. I'm dyslexic.
Are you dyslexic?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't. That was a bad joke.
Do you recall how many rounds?
Just one at that time.
Okay. And where did it strike?
The hood and windshield area, right in front of him.
And how many muzzle flashes did you see in total at scene 2?
At least the initial, at least one, and possibly 2. I can't count them. I can't tell you how many exactly I saw.
The officer's demeanor clearly showed his ego, as he was taking everything just a little too lightly. It was clear he had no understanding how drastically Bailey's life had been altered. She could no longer even care for her baby.
I was committed to engaging him, and I did that. At which point, my ankle rolled off the curb, and I fell on my back.
Okay.
I was falling and still shooting, so somehow the gun jammed from limp wristing it.
Okay. That were fired at you, or you saw several muzzle flashes?
Yes.
How do you define several?
Check the form.
1 or 2? 2 probably.
Okay. Several's not one.
Yeah.
What we agree to that? Do you mean is several more than 2?
Check the form.
I would say 2. So we'll say a couple.
Okay.
Investigators pressed Joshua about the tragic incident, but he continued to make light of this serious situation, attempting to joke instead of addressing it responsibly.
In your deposition, you discussed dust. Tell me about that.
Form.
Was there dust at scene 2?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Form.
There was dust at scene 2.
And I understand there may have been dust on the ground, but did the dust become airborne?
Yes. From the suspect's vehicle spinning in the grass, which was dry.
Did the dust settle? What do you say? Before you got out of your car?
No.
Okay, so there was still some dust in the air.
Correct.
When did the dust settle?
Check the form.
Still hasn't settled. I guess it never really did. I mean, that I remember.
Okay. Now, before you got out of your car and engaged Marvin Jones, did you know anything about him or his background?
Just the fact that he might have some felony warrants out of New Hampshire.
How did you learn that?
Apparently, somebody called from New Hampshire to rat him out.
Joshua had no remorse for his action, and as the deposition continued, his answers were about to get even more weird.
What threat was posed to the safety of an officer or other person at the point you first got out of your car?
There was none.
Okay. What threat to an officer or other was posed when you first drew your firearm?
There was none.
What threat to an officer or other was posed when you got out of your car, when you took a step towards the Lincoln?
Objective one.
At this point, the defendant's actions.
Okay. Which were what?
Fumbling around on his, making very furtive movements.
Okay.
Kept looking at me.
The attorney then questioned Joshua about his troubled past, which included being removed from his role as a canine officer. When pressed on this matter, his cocky and dismissive responses were shocking.
Did you have your duties as a canine handler revoked or rescinded at any point?
Yes, I did.
What happened or why?
Form of objection.
In my opinion,
Yes.
I was doing my job too well.
What does that mean?
It means I was beating the streets and I was catching bad guys.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of bad guys that got away from me
Because your dog got him.
because we got them as a team.
Okay.
And if you have an above average bite ratio, that means you could be using your dog too much.
Okay.
A bite ratio is how many people you apprehend and then how many people you dog bite during that apprehension. So they're saying 30%. So they're saying out of 10 people that you apprehend, you should bite 3 of them, let's say.
Okay.
Which never made any sense to me.
The officer was so arrogant that he had no clue that he was appearing stupid. His desperate attempt to portray himself in a positive light only highlighted his dangerous and bullying nature.
When was your canine handler duties taken away?
Late 2011. As a matter of fact, December 23rd, 2011.
Okay. Why does that date stick out?
Worst day of my life.
Did
I enjoyed the job. I would have paid the city to come do that job. Tracking down bad guys and finding them and apprehending them.
Did you apprehend good guys?
Objective one.
Never. I take that back. I bit a victim one time because she jumped in front of me. So I did. I bit a victim one time.
Was that another officer?
No, it was a victim, a domestic violence victim.
Joshua's history was riddled with poor decisions and excessive use of force. The attorney dug deeper, exposing his psychopathic nature.
Do you need supervisor authority to conduct a strip search?
Yes, sir.
Did you obtain supervisor authority before you searched Justin Riddle?
No, sir.
Did you receive counseling or did a supervisor talk to you about that and tell you you did that portion incorrectly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. March 2011, there was a newspaper article about a lawyer that claimed you used excessive force. Do you recall that incident?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
He was, Roe. He was hammered. He was drunk.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. This is the one where you were alleged to have gone in a home without permission, like moved somebody's arm. Do you recall that incident? What happened there?
I was on K9. We were looking for, they're twins. There's 2 of them. I forget their names, but we saw one on the bed through the window. And I'm like, that's him. That's him. But this is before I knew he had a twin or a brother. So he had a felony warrant.
The twin did.
No.
The one of them.
The one of them had a felony warrant.
The guilty one, not the
Yes.
innocent one.
So the mother's there, and got the place surrounded, and basically, she said, "You're not coming in." Well, he's in there. We can see him in there. We can force entry on a felony warrant if we see the person and we confirm it's him. I eat that one. That was my responsibility all day long, for not knowing that it's the brother. But they do look different. If I had seen his face, maybe pay attention to his haircut.
Did you ever arrest a good guy?
Did I ever arrest a good guy?
Yeah.
Not that I can recall.
If you thought that cop was put in his place, wait until you see how this judge responded to a corrupt officer.
But they told me that the judge don't make the rules here. That was the quote that they...
Who told you that? Oh, hold on. Mr. Flanagan, call Mr. Farmer right now.
Call him right now.
Police officers often overestimate their authority, making reckless decisions that eventually cost them their jobs. While some manage to dodge accountability for a while, the courtroom is where the truth catches up. A young man named Jalen Lee, who was on probation, was called in for a hearing. He had already paid over $30,000 in fines and was making an effort to turn his life around. The judge was even impressed by his progress.
You did choices
Yes, ma'am.
through eBay, and then you've completed 8 of the 10 gamblers counseling. Well, let's see.
Nope.
That she's saying 2 different things. How many gamblers counseling is left?
I finished all 10.
Oh, you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's do this. How long do you think it'll take for you to complete or pay the 510?
I started a new job within 2 days. So my first paycheck within basically 2 weeks, I'll be able to pay it.
You gonna give us all your money? I don't know how much the check is. Don't give me the saying it's all your money. I mean,
it's literally been all my money. So.
Right. But I can give you a couple of months if you want a couple of extra months. I can give you a couple of months.
I mean, yeah, that will work better. Absolutely. Whichever one works.
All right. I mean, 'cause today is just the halfway point. So you're not technically scheduled to be discharged from probation. The 12 months, you're not scheduled until May 2nd. I could give you a date in late January if that'll be better for you.
It seems like the probation officers just never wanted to let a good guy get out of the criminal system and were desperately setting him up for failure.
If he completes it and pays the money, you could send an email to Mr. Flanagan and I can discharge him without you coming.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right, so I'll put it on the docket for January the Let's put it on the docket for February 3rd, that first Monday in February. I'll put it on the docket for February 3rd. And then that way we could confirm with Ms. Collins that you've completed those classes or the counseling, and then you can pay the $510. If you've done so, counsel, you can just submit an email and I can confirm it with probation, and then I can discharge him without appearance. So we'll put it on the docket for a discharge.
Judge Lanise showed kindness and appreciation for Jalen's effort. However, what he learned next left him completely shocked.
Ms. Bryant, so up until this point, I'm still expected to check in regularly and do the normal probation process until January.
What do you mean by that? Tell me what do you do? What's the normal probation process?
Well, because originally they were telling me that once I came into this review, I could have the potential to be discharged from the probation since I did all the classes and everything like that.
So
right now,
I'm gonna interrupt you, Mr. Lee. You're on a non-reporting probation anyway. So if they've had you reporting monthly, you didn't have to do that.
I said that originally, but they told me that the judge don't make the rules here. That was the quote that they.
Who told you that? Oh, hold on. Mr. Flanagan, call Mr. Farmer right now. Call him right now.
Yes.
It's going to be a great day. Call him right now. I need you to tell us who told you that. Call him right now. Matter of fact, you can call Mr. Wade too. Call them right now. Because I'm about to. Yes. I like you, Mr. Lee. I like you. You didn't even mean to tell on them, but you did.
The probation officer clearly undermined the judge's authority, and Judge Lanise got excited as she knew the officer was about to get into trouble. No matter what, you just don't insult a judge like this.
Because if I ever hear somebody say that again, I'm going to hold them in contempt. Yeah, but we gonna do this right now. Oh, I'm so excited. This turned out to be a great Tuesday. But you did not have to report, Mr. Lee. You were not supposed to be reporting on a monthly basis. And we're getting ready to nip that in the bud right now. I'm so excited for my future and yours.
Not only this, but the judge also apologized on behalf of the corrupt probation officers.
Drug screen.
They've been having me do a drug screen. I was like, I don't even smoke, or my case had nothing to do with anything, related, but I've been doing a drug screen every month.
Mr. Lee, let me apologize on behalf of the court. And I'm thankful that Ms. Bryson no longer works here because she might have got fired today.
Understood.
So you do not have to test. My order specifically says no urinalysis was ordered. And so what I'm going to do is refund you any money that you have paid for your drug screens. So where were you testing?
The judge took a firm stance, ensuring that Jalen received every possible compensation for his efforts to turn his life around. At the same time, she made sure the officers, especially Farmer, were held accountable for their mistakes and thoroughly taken to task. While these cops were taken to the cleaners, this next officer was immediately humbled for his action.
Correct. So the dog decided to send him to secondary.
Correct.
This Border Patrol agent used to stop people for fun and took the law for granted. However, one of them decided to file a lawsuit against him, and here's how the attorney took him to the cleaners.
When you're at the Border Patrol checkpoint, your duties are to enforce immigration laws and look for terrorists and look for weapons of mass destruction and assist in detecting narcotics. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you do this, of course, you're following a procedure manual that tells you what to do?
Following policy, sir.
Written policy?
Yes, sir.
You have a copy of that written policy?
No, I do not, sir.
Have you ever seen a copy of that written policy?
That states our authority to conduct immigration checks, or for the checkpoint itself, sir?
For that checkpoint.
No, I have not, sir.
Are you aware of any written guidelines or policies or procedures on how to run that checkpoint?
I am aware that they're out there, sir.
You're aware that they're out there?
The attorney really breaks the spirit of the corrupt cop, as he has nowhere to hide and fails to even maintain eye contact. Watch how he keeps on delivering sucker punches.
Let me get this straight. You're testifying right now that you are aware that there are written guidelines and procedures for this checkpoint?
Can you state that question again, sir?
Is it your testimony here and now that there are written guidelines and procedures for this checkpoint?
To my knowledge, yes, sir.
Have you seen them?
No, I have not, sir.
But to your knowledge, they exist?
Yes, sir.
The attorney keeps digging himself into a big hole, unable to cite any law that authorizes the checkpoint. To make matters worse, the attorney reveals he has a voice recording that completely undermines the officer's claim.
Do you recall on June 1st of this year giving a telephonic statement to Mr. Victor?
I do not recall the exact date, but yes, I do recall a telephonic interview, sir.
Do you recall you were in a room with Mr. Katz?
Yes, sir.
I believe there was another attorney in the room who was a representative of the Border Patrol Union?
Yes, sir.
And you were on the telephone to Mr. Victor?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware that that tape recording was being recorded?
Yes, sir.
And were you trying to tell the truth at that time?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember being asked during that statement if you were aware of any written guidelines, policies, and procedures for this checkpoint?
Do I remember that specific question, sir?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Do you remember saying that you were not aware of any written guidelines, policies, or procedures?
No, sir.
Would it help to refresh your memory if you heard a tape playing of your voice?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, if I may.
If you want to use that one, it's fine.
Just get the starts right at the beginning of that.
This one needs to.
Playing the audio wasn't as straightforward as expected. The defense attorney quickly jumped in with objections, trying to block it from being admitted.
This is your voice, and if you remember being asked this question and given this answer.
And Your Honor, the state's going to object at this point. Was this noticed as part of your trial exhibit and disclosure?
Actually, Judge, this doesn't need to be noticed because it's impeachment, which is exactly how we're using it right now.
Your Honor, the same standard would apply to both parties. The state would expect that everything that be given in notice to both parties.
Judge, the law's well settled in Arizona. If the defense had to give impeachment to the state of the state's witnesses before the state's witnesses testified, it wouldn't be much of impeachment, would it? We're simply disclosing the audio tape of the interview that the state's witness, where the state's counsel was present throughout the entire interview.
Your Honor,
I have no understanding what possibly could be the objection to this.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
You may.
Your Honor, Mr. Victor is quite correct. Under Rule 613B, the state withdraws its objection.
The judge, determined to uncover the truth, overruled the objection without hesitation. It was finally time for the agent to get a taste of his own medicine.
Just ask this question. Do you have any written policies, procedures, or guidelines on how the operation of that particular checkpoint is to be conducted?
No, to my knowledge, no. I'm there to determine citizenship, sir. If somebody travels through there and they come to our checkpoint, they're U.S. citizens, they're free to go. If they're not U.S. citizens, they say they are not.
Agent Gomez, did you recognize that as your voice?
Yes, sir.
Were you asked the question if there were any policies, procedures, or written policies, procedures, or guidelines for that checkpoint?
Yes, sir.
What was your answer, that you were not aware of any?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This was rock bottom for the officer, being publicly proven wrong in court. The Border Patrol agent's stops were deemed illegal, and he was about to get schooled all over again.
To have your testimony correct that when people pull up and you ask them if you're a U.S. citizen and whether they answer yes or no, then they're on their way?
Yes, sir.
So if someone pulls up and you say, are you a U.S. citizen, and they say no, they're on their way?
No, sir.
Well, which is it? You just said if they say yes or no, they're on their way. But then I asked the question a different way. If they said no and you said they're not on their way, which one is it?
Usually if somebody says no, they already have their immigration documents with them. They present that to me and they're on their way.
And do I have your testimony correct that if you are unable to determine citizenship at the checkpoint, do you usually try to get them to go to secondary?
Yes, sir.
Not all the time?
No, sir.
So sometimes you cannot determine citizenship at the primary, but you just let them go?
No, sir.
And now I'm confused again.
The Border Patrol agent was making no sense whatsoever, and he seemed to be caught up in his own lies. The attorney kept exposing his hypocrisy for everyone to see, and what he revealed next will leave you stunned.
I originally asked if you are unable to determine citizenship at the primary checkpoint, that you usually try to get them to secondary.
Yes, sir.
I did not say always try to get them to secondary. Do you understand my question?
Yes, sir.
Usually means sometimes not, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
So is it fair to say that sometimes, if you are unable to determine citizenship at the primary checkpoint, that you let them go anyway?
No, sir.
I don't understand again. If someone comes up and you cannot determine citizenship, you say you usually try to get them to secondary. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Usually means not always. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Like, I usually wear a suit to court, but not always. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So there are some times that people come up and you are unable to determine citizenship, but you just let them go on their way. Is that correct?
No, sir.
What do you do with them?
I try to establish the citizenship there.
And suppose you can't?
And they go to secondary, sir.
So if you are unable to determine citizenship, they always go to secondary?
Yes, sir.
Not usually, but always now?
Yes, sir.
The officer had messed up so badly that there was no coming back from it. Imagine doing your job without even understanding the law or the procedures that govern it.
Mr. Anderson was sent to secondary inspection because of the dog alert. Is that correct?
It was a combination of both immigration and the canine alert, sir.
Okay. So you're saying part of the reason he was sent to secondary was immigration, not
Yes.
the dog alert?
Yes, sir.
But wasn't the decision made to send him to secondary, wasn't that decision made before he ever got to you?
Yes, sir.
And the decision was made, or you got the signal from Agent Spoonamore?
Correct.
Before any immigration question was asked?
Correct.
And Agent Spoonamore gave you that signal because his dog alerted?
Correct.
So the dog decided to send him to secondary?
Correct.
How does the dog determine immigration status?
The canine does not determine citizenship, sir.
So he wasn't sent to secondary for immigration. He was sent to secondary because the dog alerted.
Mr. Anderson never answered my immigration question.
But the decision that he was going to secondary had already been made, correct?
Correct.
He could have pulled up to that primary checkpoint with a passport in his hand, and he was still going to secondary. Is that correct?
Correct.
Eventually, the corrupt cop attempted to shift the entire blame onto his canine, but the attorney quickly shut him down, making the judge's decision that much easier.
Is there any better documentation of U.S. citizenship than a U.S. passport?
No, sir.
So it didn't matter what he said, he was going to secondary?
Yes, sir.
Because the dog said so?
Because the canine alerted to the vehicle, sir.
Is a canine trained to alert to people here illegally?
No, sir.
So the dog wasn't alerting for immigration?
Now, while that was shocking, this next case will leave you completely stunned as the actions of this cop ultimately landed him in prison for life.
Defendant is guilty of the crime of forcible and punishment is set at 16 years.
Cops often make serious mistakes, but they must be held accountable. Today we will cover the story of a heinous officer who made the biggest mistake imaginable and did the unthinkable. Fortunately, he was held accountable, but make sure to watch how his case progressed. On June 18th, 2014, Officer Daniel Holtzclaw was heading home after his shift with his CAD and GPS turned off. That is when he spotted 57-year-old Janie Liggins and decided to pull her over. What he did next was horrific, as he forced her to perform oral sex on him after stripping. The brave woman went over to the police department the next day, and as the corrupt officer arrived for his shift, he was welcomed by a couple of detectives.
Okay, tell me about that stop.
I was going westbound on Northeast 50th, probably a block just east of Lincoln. I see a red Grand Prix, or Grand Am, in my right lane, in the outside lane. I'm in the inside lane. The car swerves, and so at the time I'm thinking, okay, it's probably a drunk person, or maybe got excited because they saw a cop. And then made contact. It was a black female. Asked for license and insurance. Stated that she didn't have insurance. Gave me an ID.
Do you make traffic stops normally after work?
I don't, but in that case, I saw her swerve and whatnot, so
I mean, me, I don't.
Felt.
After I get off work.
I know. I mean, people, cops say that is have a.
Detective Kim Davis was the one leading the interrogation from the front and came straight to the issue at hand.
Okay, so you got her out of the car?
Yes.
Okay. And put her in the back of your car?
Yes.
Okay. Any problems there?
No, she was cooperative. Didn't give me any problems or whatnot.
Did you run her on your MDT?
No, I didn't. All my stuff as far as that, because I didn't call it in and say it was a traffic stop. My computer was off and everything as well.
Did you shut it off?
I just shut it off.
Work?
Yeah, on the way.
When you put her in your car, did you pat search her?
When I came around, I was like, lift up your shirt. Is there anything on you? Anything as far as your waistband or anything like that? She said no. And then I put her in the vehicle and went from there. Asked her everything.
Did your hands go on her at all?
I backhanded her on as far as the side.
Where on her body? Tell me. You backhanded
her waist, and the back portion. I didn't touch her butt or anything, but the back portion of the waist. And then she lifted it up like right here, and there's nothing.
Did she lift it up like this?
No.
Okay. So she never, like, went, ooh, nothing,
No.
exposed her breasts or anything like that?
She asked me if I was like, no, it's okay.
She asked you.
Despite the shocking allegations being thrown at him, Officer Holtzclaw remained calm and cordial. However, he had no clue how he was about to be exposed.
So I was saying it was the hip, the side, not the butt section.
What about right here?
No.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
They can tuck a gun
That's
right here.
why I asked to lift it up.
Oh, so she just kind of showed you her belly?
Right.
Okay.
What did she say?
Well, was there anything, an accidental touch, anything?
If she thought it when I pass searched her, but it was nothing as far as I felt like I would do anything as far as for my safety. I just checked to see the weapons or anything.
And
to make clear, I didn't touch her butt, but the waist side and whatnot. If you would like me to do it for me to show you.
No, and I'm fine with it, and you have every right to do that. She's saying that you made her lift up her shirt, and when she lifted up her shirt, she exposed her breasts.
No.
Later, after a thorough investigation, it was found out that this was not the first victim of this corrupt officer. In fact, he had sexually assaulted multiple African-American women in the last year.
She said, she said she was doing this. When you said, is there anything inside your bra? And she was, well, no, I don't have anything like that. Did she do that?
Yeah, she did, but I didn't look or anything like that.
Right.
And then she was like, do you want me to show you? I was like, no.
She said when she said, do you want me to show you? You said, yeah, and she went,
woo. No, I didn't.
But could she have been, woo, flashing you? And now you don't want to tell me because you're afraid you're going to get in trouble?
No, when I told her no, I said no.
Then she didn't go, yeah,
No.
you know, because sometimes drunk girls are,
Having a good time.
yeah. But I'm asking you if she flashed you anyways.
I didn't see her. I
You
didn't see her
no
breasts.
boobies?
I didn't see her breasts.
Okay. What about pants?
Nothing in her pants as far as I could see. She was wearing tight jeans. So
She said she pulled them down.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see her pull them down?
I didn't see her pulling down pants.
You did not see her?
No, I did not see her breasts.
So she's saying you shined your light on her.
I did not see her.
Where do you keep your flashlight?
The left side right here. Right.
Thankfully, Janie Liggins came forward and exposed the predator in uniform. Shortly after, Detective Gregory collected a buckle swab for Holtzclaw's DNA, evidence that would later be crucial.
Did we buckle swab anybody in the academy?
I don't.
As a demonstration?
No, I never had this done, so.
Say there we go. And you get a free teeth cleaning with your first time.
You won't go none though.
All right, and then we're going to have one more round.
I turned off my phone.
Okay, we pulled up a lot of video around that area after these allegations. Okay. She also had a SANE exam, which you know what that consists of.
Right.
There's a reason why we wanted your buckles.
Okay.
So if we go off the video and watch that,
right,
you're still going to stick with your story.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall putting your penis in her mouth?
I don't.
Would you recall that if you did it?
If I did it, yeah.
Although Holtzclaw's body cam and GPS were turned off, the detectives had found some CCTV footage of the incident. Nothing could necessarily be seen on that, but it did prove that the officer's vehicle was stopped there for 25 minutes.
We knew you were on that stop.
Right.
We knew you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And we can watch a whole lot of actions being performed while you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's why she was trying to give you every out on the whole booby thing. But any reason why your would be out?
No.
We didn't do it, we didn't do it, we didn't do it. And then the DNA comes back and says, he did it. Then we have a huge problem.
Right.
Okay. On the video, are we going to see her boobies?
Shouldn't see her.
Okay. Are we going to see her pull her pants down?
I didn't see her pull her pants.
Okay. Are we going to see your pee?
Nope.
Are we going to see your pee go in her mouth?
No.
Are we going to get any DNA to that?
No.
The detectives also discovered that 43-year-old Terry Morris had complained about Officer Holtzclaw a month ago, that he had pulled her over for a traffic stop and then later raped her.
Probably not necessarily going to remember the name, but her name is Terry Morris. Okay, black female. Supposedly you promised her a ride to the city rescue mission. This ring a bell?
No.
And she thought you ran her for warrants. Was it clicking? Drove her around.
No. Name doesn't, I don't recall a name like that.
And she's claiming the same thing. The exact same thing. And here again, for whatever reason, things are pointing at you again. Traffic stop, not logged in, all that stuff.
The other girl that he's talking about is kind of making the same allegations, and that's weird.
Yeah, that
doesn't look good.
I mean, that's
it doesn't
weird.
look, yeah, it
That's
doesn't look
weird.
good. So, no, I don't.
Officer Holtzclaw was showing no signs of concern on his face, but it was clear that something was deeply wrong. The fact that so many underprivileged black women came forward with the same complaint was no coincidence.
Are you circumcised?
I am circumcised.
Just asking. Do you have pubic hair?
Yes.
Well, I mean, some people manscape, as you call it.
Right.
You groom?
I groom.
Okay.
Yes.
So do I.
You got any identifying marks around your...
I don't.
Just a plain old penis, huh?
Plain old penis.
Plain old 14-incher.
I don't know what to say about that, but...
See, you should have. You just had your opportunity. I just don't know what to think. Would you take a polygraph?
Yeah, if you want to take a polygraph.
I mean, I'm trying to think of a solution. Do you know how slow DNA is?
I don't. I do not.
Slow.
You went home? Was anybody home?
My girlfriend was home.
Do you live with her?
Huh? No, she doesn't. She just stayed.
Did you get laid?
Messed around, yeah.
What's messed around?
I guess.
We were all adults.
We almost had, and she was tired.
What'd you do?
So my, and then maybe went a little bit in, and then she pushed me off and said, "No, we don't want to. I'm tired." I was like, "Okay."
That's kind of mean to let it get that far and then stop.
So
that's when you got home?
That's when I got home.
After asking a few questions about Holtzclaw's personal life and marriage, she shifted back to the case, this time with some more direct questions.
And she's sitting right here. If she goes like this, well, she's going to be looking right at your penis.
Okay. But it was just talking.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever get a hard on while you were talking to her? Because she could have.
I don't think
these
I got.
pants don't fit the greatest,
Right.
and if you get a hard on, I'm going to be able to tell you got a hard on.
Right, and I'm pretty positive I didn't get a hard on.
Didn't get a hard on
No,
when you. Did your pants come unzipped, unbuttoned, anything while you were standing right there?
No.
CSI is processing your car right now.
Right.
And when we stepped out, they found some pubic hairs right in here. Could they be yours?
No, that's not. I didn't do anything right there.
Did she?
No.
But do you think they could be?
No, it's not. No. Nothing of mine.
Your pubes couldn't be
No.
right there?
No.
Holtzclaw targeted African American women with outstanding warrants, running background checks before stopping them. By the end of the week, his number of victims would rise to 8 as those poor women came forward.
You sure she just didn't flash you?
I can't. She did not. I want to say I can't recall, but I'm pretty positive she didn't flash.
I see a pair of titties.
She went like this, but nothing as far as I'm going like crazy looking.
Lifting the shirt.
No.
How far did she lift it?
When she lifted it up first, when I patted her down, she was like right here to like stomach line.
Did you see her belly?
Maybe some fat roll or something. I don't know, but nothing.
Right, but I mean, could you see skin?
Yeah, I saw skin. Yeah.
You like older women?
I don't.
How old's your girlfriend?
She's 25.
Okay.
What's the oldest lady you've slept with?
Maybe 29.
You ever slept with a black woman?
I have. In high school, I have.
Okay.
Why would she make? Because when a woman says something like this, and they go through a same exam, and they get, You didn't give her a ticket, so she's not getting out of a ticket. You didn't arrest her, because we get those when they go to jail. I've been have to work those stupid things because they think they're going to get out of jail.
One of the most devastating claims was made by a 17-year-old victim who claimed that the officer had raped her on her mother's porch.
Anyway, those pubes are going to be yours.
No, they're not. Please, go.
I know. We're going to test it. It just takes... Anyway, your skin cells are going to be anywhere on her mouth.
No.
Skin cells from your fingers.
No.
Did you touch her body anywhere other than with the back of your hand pat searching her?
I just passed searched her and that was about it. Didn't touch her face or anything.
Because if the tests come back, you ain't coming back in here.
Because we have a woman that says about, basically being assaulted.
Right.
Okay? And we're calling it by force and all that. Big difference between that and a hookup.
Right. Nothing else.
But when she was standing, did she try to pull her pants down?
No.
Did she do... You said she kind of did like this. Did she ever do anything down here?
No.
You said you take the lie detector test.
Right.
Do you have any extra job? Is there a time when you can't take a lie detector test?
No.
You're saying about a 15-minute traffic stop. How long do you usually take on a traffic stop, just on average?
Maybe 20 minutes.
Testing later confirmed that her DNA was found on Holtzclaw's pants. Currently, the detectives remain focused on this single traffic stop. They continued asking more questions about it, but the officer never seemed to be in any doubt, as he was never under any kind of stress.
Now,
That's a long time.
Now, 20 minutes, and I'll give it to you. Just even doing the gang stuff and all that. Okay. 20 minutes. Now, that's going to be some 800 time, right?
800. Searching the car in detail, all that.
Okay, so doing all of that, all the running, waiting in line, and even on a search. Now, the question I have is we got a lapse of time here, so I'm kind of get a better handle on where the time went. You're talking about 15 minutes, no 800, no running on the computer, you shut it down. And you said it was just a quick little search of the car. Where's the rest of that time?
Just talking to her.
About what?
Just see where you go and trying to get her to confess. Are you drunk or not? Like, are you been drinking? Because I could smell it when I was in the car, but I can't really get it.
Well, what if she said, yes, I'm drunk?
There are a lot of drunk questions, like how much
have you been drinking? Mainly it's just have you been drinking, trying to get her confessed, see anything inside that juice, just trying to talk to her.
Okay, right there, those questions maybe took 40 seconds. 15 minutes?
And you said 5 at the car. So then we got 10 of a lot of questions.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you tell me I wasn't there. I mean, obviously I don't have any audio.
And that's what I'm saying. Roughly on a traffic stop take about 20 minutes.
The detectives still couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that Holtzclaw did not issue a ticket to the woman, and the stop still took 25 minutes.
How could you take 15 minutes on that?
Just talking. I must have been talking. So that's it.
I can't see her wanting to talk if she's crying and asking if you're going to shoot her and all this. I don't see her being real forthcoming with conversation.
Whether my questions or whatnot, that's it.
I mean, you don't seem... I mean, I don't know how you were out there, but just kind of talking with you. I mean, you seem real laid back and everything like that. I've never got the impression of just kind of an angry type cop. We know some.
So you don't think 15 minutes was too long on that traffic stop?
No,
And nothing went on during that 15 minutes?
Nothing.
Suddenly, Detective Davis called Holtzclaw's wife to confirm his earlier statement. Shockingly, he was caught lying immediately.
I just talked to Karen.
Okay.
She said she was asleep when you got home and you did not try to have sex, and you did not have sex.
Did try to have sex.
She said you didn't. And I asked her, could you have been asleep? And you kind of, no. And she said no. You did not try to have sex.
Because I don't want to involve her. I tried to have sex with her and she was asleep. Carrie goes to sleep pretty early, about 9, 10 at the late.
Okay, but she would know if you tried. I'm a woman.
I know.
And my husband comes home in the middle of the night and I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been asleep. You said you twirled around her vagina
I did.
and you put it in a little bit, and then she said, I'm tired. No.
I did.
She would remember that to tell me.
Shoot. Maybe.
She said you did not try to have sex.
That was a disastrous start for Holtzclaw, as his claims were quickly proven false. With this, the detectives had every right to launch a full investigation, as things were unraveling for him.
I don't know what to say. I mean, because it just looks like I just caught you in a lie, and now I don't know what to believe.
I'm telling you.
I don't know what to believe.
Okay.
Because you tell me this, I go to verify it. She tells me the opposite, and now I'm wondering what you're telling the truth about.
Maybe because she doesn't know what the heck's going on.
No, she doesn't. I didn't tell her.
And I'm glad, but detectives calling her, any other officer asking her a question like that.
I know.
I'm telling you, I tried to have sex with Carrie, my girlfriend.
She is going to remember your weenie twirling around her hoo-ha. You remember that. I'm sorry, I don't care how much of a sleeper you are. You remember because it pisses you off in the middle of the night and you go, are you serious? Don't bother me with that.
Finally, the interrogation came to an end, and the detectives also took over Holtzclaw's uniform, which was sent over for DNA testing as well.
Looks like you're gonna need to, unless you want to keep the shirt on. I don't know. I don't know if this shirt's gonna be big enough for you. Here, there you go, boy. I was gonna get a Tyvek. Well, why don't you go ahead and get dressed then?
I need to tell you what's going on. It's crazy. I said, I'm basically on my way home, and I'd like to talk to you. What's going on? It's crazy.
Officer Holtzclaw was placed on leave, and as investigations progressed with multiple women coming forward, he faced 36 charges of sexual battery, oral assault, and stalking from 8 different women.
Verdict, count 1, sexual battery. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn in the above entitled cause, do upon our oaths find as follows. Defendant is guilty of the crime of sexual battery and set punishment at 8 years. Count 2, procuring lewd exhibition. Not guilty of the crime of procuring lewd exhibition. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of sexual battery. Count 8, defendant is guilty of the crime of forcible. Punishment is set at 20 years. Count 9, first degree. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of first degree.
Despite Holtzclaw's claim that the women were seeking monetary gain and trying to frame him, the jury unanimously found him guilty.
Count 16, forcible sodomy. Defendant is guilty of the crime of forcible sodomy and punishment is set at 16 years. Count 17, forcible sodomy. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of forcible oral sodomy. Count 18, procuring lewd exhibition. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of procuring lewd exhibition. Count 28, the first degree. Defendant is guilty of the crime of first degree and punishment is set at 30 years. Count 29, first degree. Defendant is guilty of the crime of first degree and punishment is set at 30 years. Count 30, sexual battery. Defendant is guilty of the crime of sexual battery and punishment is set at 8 years. Count 31, second degree by instrumentation. Defendant is guilty of the crime of second degree and punishment is set at 12 years.
After listening to some last words from the judge, Holtzclaw left the courtroom in tears, still claiming that he did not do it.
Mr. Holtzclaw, this jury finds you guilty of the various counts. You will be remanded to the custody of the Oklahoma County Sheriff for formal sentencing set January 21st, 2016 at 10 o'clock a.m.
Your Honor, I'd ask to poll the jury.
All right, you have a seat.
He was eventually sentenced to 263 years in prison and will not be seeing a day outside of prison walls again. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Today we witnessed a shocking case of police corruption and an abuse of power. This may be one of the worst instances of police brutality. Positive outcome is that the officer was sentenced to life in prison. We hope this serves as a lesson to other officers that such actions are never repeated. And if you agree, please support us by liking this video. And if you enjoyed this video, watch the moments where these criminals viciously attacked these cops.
Show me your hands.